Graham Healy from the Healy Report, and it's Friday the 14th of March, and it's 6:45 in Brisbane. Just sort of do a quick one because I can take these videos down and load them onto my website, which is riseupaustraliabrisbane.com. Now, isn't it wonderful? Of course, I've been a Trump fan well before he was the President of the United States. So isn't it wonderful to watch Trump destroying the globalism worldwide? And isn't it wonderful? I think what's he been in power now for about 6 weeks or something, round about that. And isn't it wonderful how he's reversed everything that has taken 20 years of devious manipulation by the Democrats and in Australia by both the Liberals and Labor, of course more Labor, Greens and all that, walking down the road of globalism. In other words, eroding the sovereignty of each nation so that you become a global communism situation. So just, everyone's seen the news, the big upset with Ukraine initially, and what a joke that was in many respects. It's now completely and utterly turned around. The commentary that came out about Trump and Zelensky and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I just had a laugh about it at the end of the day, because what I personally learned about it, I knew there was a long history with Ukraine. I hadn't looked into it in great detail myself, but that particular event caused the truth to be told over the internet, and so people know the whole thing about the United Nations and NATO's broken peace agreements with Russia, I think twice at least, maybe more, but certainly twice. And now that you've got a real deal maker in power, i.e. Donald Trump, you'll see everyone's not towing the line, but they're actually, Trump's just working out a win-win deal. I had a talk to a young Indian guy at the service station today, and he was sort of anti-Trump as soon as I mentioned the name Trump. And he said, Elon Musk and Trump are doing everything for their own good. And I said, hang on. I pulled him up, and then I sorted him out. And I explained to him what tariffs are doing. I explained to him what Trump's actually doing, levelling the playing field and making America and American citizens prosperous again by bringing in all those outsourced benefits that were sent overseas to erode the economy of America and Australia and the UK. That was all basically a subtle plan to break down the Western economies to become what I call third world, just about. And certainly with the Labor in Australia, Labor and Greens mentality is basically communists. So they affiliate with making good friends with China, and there's nothing wrong with associating with China, but the thing is that in every business deal, just like Donald Trump's book, the deal or whatever it is, I've ordered it anyhow. So the win-win deal, that's what he does. He does win-win deals. If it's not a win for both sides, well, there's no deal. That's as simple as it is, and that should be the policy right across the board. In Australia, we've had how the hell these politicians have ever got away with it, I'll never know. But they've step by step over the last 25 years eroded the economy of Australia. They've put the whole country in debt. We don't have to be in debt. We don't have to be owing global banks unlimited amounts of money that we've got to pay interest on, and those global banks are actually printing money out of thin air. Now, if you really want to get some detail on that, I mean, I've been sort of banging on about this for probably 20 years or more, but Senator Rennick, who's a mate of mine, and I've run a couple of dinners with him as well, he's got the oil on the financial solution for Australia. None of these politicians, not the ones I'm talking about, but the general politicians and prime ministers, they haven't got solutions to anything. There's a lot of talk, no action, nothing delivered. And first and foremost in that area is old, that idiot Albo, right? So, and unfortunately, Dutton's not much. He's about half a hand span away from Albo. Unfortunately, they should have come up with someone with a bit more character. But anyway, that's an opinion. That's my opinion, and I don't think he'll last very long. Old Dutton, he'll be gone very quickly. So. They should have someone like Andrew Hastie as the leader of the Liberal Party. How's that for a nomination straight up front? There's a real leader in the making. So at the end of the day, as we travel towards the election now, Albo's pushed it out probably to the beginning of May, I believe, or he has to call the election by then. And that's good because Trump's policies will bite right in. And now they're jumping up and down about the steel and aluminium tariffs. Oh, goodness me. And Trump said, well, you can start manufacturing in the US at your benefit. And I think we've already got Australian companies in the US. So, what I like about Trump, he doesn't pull any punches. What he says, he does. And he's a no BS guy. And, the people I associate with are also no BS people as well. So it's time that we turned Australia's economy around as well, because we're in the same boat as the US was before Trump took over, and the same with the UK. So now regarding the federal election, I've run a couple little videos under my own steam basically, but the advice is, my advice is, and being a former lead Senate candidate for Rise Up Australia for the Queensland federal elections in 2019, and I might add, my preferences in that election, according to Senator Rennick, got Senator Rennick into power. That he's, I think he's come to the end of his 6th year. So, just that quick word of advice about how to vote. Number one, you vote for the independents, such as Senator Rennick, People First Party, Senator Malcolm Roberts, Dr. William Bay, I think he's Australia First or some similar party like that, and maybe Family First in Queensland. They've got a good candidate there. So vote for those group in the top of the line, above the line. Below the line's not going to get anything. Whoever goes below the line, they haven't got a party. They might run as an independent, but it's just got Buckley's chance of getting anywhere. So someone who goes above the line is actually going to get a chance to run for the Senate, be recognised to run for the Senate with the population. For instance, in 2019, you go into a draw, and I wound up number 1 on the Senate ticket in 2019. So that being number 1 is the number 1 spot. And that's, I think I got about 25,000 votes for that. And the preferences, we preferenced the Liberal Party at that time. Of course, I didn't know what Morrison would turn like out into, but the big plus was we got Senator Rennick in the Liberal Party, and of course he was their best senator, and he's formed his own party called People First, and definitely he's got the blueprint to change Australia's economy around, including our own bank, including infrastructure programs and all that. And Senator Roberts is also a friend of mine, and he's a very good man of integrity. So vote for you vote, above the line, vote. I would do. It's up to you which one you preference, which one you put first, second, and third. It could be Senator Roberts you put first, then you put Senator Rennick, then you put Dr. Bay, or you put Dr. Bay first, Senator Rennick, and then Senator Roberts, or you put, whatever mixture you want to do, making certain that whatever preferences from the first one goes to the second one to the third. Or if you decide, well, I'm a 100% supporter, or 99 or 95 or maybe 80% supporter of, say, Dr. William Bay. You go 1, you put Dr. William Bay in the box number 1, and you think, well, I certainly would like Rennick in as well, so number 2 for Rennick, and then I really want Malcolm Roberts in, number 3 for Malcolm Roberts. So whichever combination you want to do that, of course, each the candidate's going to say put them number one, and if you feel that's the way to go, do that. But my objective is to get the whole lot of them in, right? To get Dr. Bay in, to get Senator Rennick in, to get Senator Malcolm Roberts back in. We need these people to save Australia. That is absolutely 100%. And the other thing that you've got to do, you know, if you want to make certain that the Liberal-Labor combination doesn't get back in, is say there's 10 spots above the line for the federal election, then right down the bottom, in the 10th spot you put the Greens. In the 9th spot you put Labor, and then in the 8th spot you'd put Liberals. So you put the majors right down the end, so they're so far away from your preferences they don't get any of them, right? So as Dr. Bay I think Dr. Bay just recently just put something on his Facebook, and he said he will cooperate with any of the independent parties to form the Make Australia Great Again Alliance. Now that is what it's all about. See, we haven't got a president like the US has got an executive president. Trump basically trumps everyone in the US. He's got the full executive powers. It doesn't operate. He's like the chairman of the board in the US. We haven't got a chairman of the board here. We've got the Great Committee. You know, it's the Westminster system, which is, well, you know, it's okay, I suppose. I'd rather run the United States system here. But anyway, we've got what we've got. So we've got what I call the big committee in the lower house, where, you know, they make certain decisions down there, of course, and the Prime Minister's the oversight there. And mind you, the Prime Minister can be shifted in and shifted out of his own party. The Prime Minister, just to get this right, the Prime Minister only represents the big committee behind him. He's a member of that particular, like the Liberal. Dutton is only the leader of the Liberal Party, and he can be changed over at any time. So you've got to remember, you might think you're voting for Dutton. You're not voting for Dutton only, you're voting for the whole party. And that's why when a decision comes up, no matter, you know, I was talking to my son the other day about there was a good, he likes, of course he likes Senator Rennick, you know, he's an accountant, loves Senator Rennick, met him a couple of times, but he said, oh, there's a really good Liberal Party guy in Townsville apparently that he's quite happy with, and I said, look, you know, and he stood up against the mandates and a few things like that, and I said, yeah, well, the trouble is they can do that, but when push comes to shove, they've got to toe the party line. So that's the issue with belonging to a party that isn't, let's say, smaller and independent. So if you want people who can, you know, stand up for their rights, your rights as representative of the nation, because you voted them in, it is better to have the independent parties in a crossbench situation in the Senate. So that alliance in the Senate creates, it's like a think tank creating what Donald Trump's power is in the US. It duplicates it in Australia with a block. It could be 10 senators. The 10 senators could be 6 or 7 senators, but they will be the block that will control decision making. And when I say control, what I mean, they will be able to scrutinise decision making above and beyond the party politics. And that's what we want. We want change in this country. We want change back to cash flow positive. And as I've always said, and I've said this, you know, this is for years, well, at least 2 years now, that Senator Rennick has a blueprint to change the economy of Australia. Now, of course, Senator Roberts as well has some really good policies, and you know, when you add Senator Roberts and Senator Rennick together, you have a very good combination. Then you put in Dr. Bay, then you've got a better combination. See, it's a bit like the biblical thing, is a 3-chord rope is very hard to break. So 3 or 4 or 5 is harder. The chords, you get a harder, stronger core. So, you know, the Trumpeter Patriots Party, I mean, you know, they've got, I think, Harry Fong or someone. I've never heard of him. And the thing is, you know, I'm happy what Clive's done and what he's doing with the Trumpet of Patriots. I'm advertising the Trumpet of Patriots on my website, riseupaustraliabrisbane.com. But my condition, or my vetting of any Senate candidate is the question I ask, and I said this in a couple of videos, and I said this with my associate down in Adelaide, the big property owner, cattle breeder down there, Peter Manuel from the Farmers Association, FLAG is his organisation. Where were these guys over the last 5 years? See, anyone can throw their hat in the ring now and go, oh, look, I want to run for the Senate, I'm getting a job. But my question is, if they're a patriot, where were they over the last 5 years? Where were they during all these the COVID mandates? Where were they through all the misinformation and the injections that did all these injuries to people? Where were they then? The thing is, if they weren't in the high profile, if they weren't politically active over the last 5 years, whether they're in Parliament, out of Parliament, or wherever they're down the street in demonstrations or what have you, they shouldn't be running for the Senate. Now, you're ticking the box, Dr. Bay. Dr. Bay, William Bay's a personal friend of mine. I've been to many court cases with him, and he beat the Australian Health Practitioners Association in the Supreme Court, and you can tick him in the box. He's run, I don't know, something like, I don't know the number, maybe 50, 60, 70 protests against the system over the last 5 years, or 4 years, 3 years. So he's a person who's got a track record of standing up for what's right, for not only for medical things, and he himself says, which is, I think it's great, he wants to be Robert Kennedy Jr. #2 in Australia. So that's his purpose. He wants to dismantle TGA, dismantle APRA, and recalibrate the whole medical process so that the doctor-patient relationship becomes a reality again, rather than being a patient / bureaucrats / big pharma association. And, to make them all accountable. And, one thing for certain, we definitely have to make the big pharmaceutical companies liable for injuries, liable for the crap that they produce. And when I say crap, I mean it. There isn't any, I won't go on about this, but there's enough evidence through literally hundreds of thousands of doctors now regarding, especially the mRNA technology. The injections that they put out were totally, didn't work for a start, but except making big pharmaceutical companies money like Pfizer and Moderna and them. But at the end of the day, they never had any solid scientific testing to prove anything. They made it up, in other words. So those that took injections, and not our cohort, but those that were forced to take injections, basically you were experimental lab rats, unfortunately, and possibly a 30% of people were injured from that experiment, and they've got to be brought into account through a Royal Commission, as Senator Roberts says, the Royal Commission, and that is coming. That is coming regarding the lies and the gaslighting of the government and also pharmaceutical companies over the last 5 years. And you walk past the chemist now and they've still got the COVID injections going now. I mean, for goodness sake, you'd have to be brain dead to take one, but they're still pushing them, so they should be liable. So at the end of the day, Trump's winning. It's a win-win deal. And regarding Australia, isn't Albo crying, and all the left are crying, Rudd used to live in my suburbs. I didn't mind Rudd when I knew him personally, but the trouble is he's just lost the plot. And, they've been huffing and puffing about Trump this, Trump that over the last few years, and now Trump's #1 in the world. They don't know what to do. So what the Trump effect is simply this. He has an ability to basically bring what I call the swamp rats to the surface. And so all the woke agendas are being brought to the surface by Donald Trump, and I love it. I never thought I'd see this day where one man he's got a great team, a winning team from J.D. Vance, right through to the FBI, all these people, they're just, it's like the real America. It's like John Wayne's taken over America or something. It's great. Unfortunately, in Australia, we really have to duplicate Donald Trump with a set of, say, seven, 8, maybe 10 independent senators, and the senators that we must vote into power is Senator Roberts, Senator Rennick, and Senate candidate Dr. William Bay. Oh, he'll stir things up for you. He will be great, and he's a great speaker too. Great guy, really nice bloke, and he just, you'll always get a laugh with Dr. William Bay. He's great. He's a real Aussie. He's a real Aussie patriot at the end of the day, but he's very super intelligent. Same with Senator Rennick. He's one hell of a smart man, and that's the sort of person you want in a position of power. You don't want any of these. I shouldn't say this, but I will. You don't want these morons that are down in Canberra telling you what to do. I just watched some of the Senate estimates and that, and I think to myself, my God. Especially some of the bureaucrats that are being paid to just run things around in circles and achieve nothing. We need our own Doge. Maybe I'll get on the phone to Elon Musk and ask for a few tips. We really need to clean out the third layer of government. We've got too much bureaucracy controlling this country, and it's got to stop now. So, okay, that's Graham Healy, Friday evening, a little chat. And, praise the Lord, amen, and thank God for Donald Trump. And Australia really needs to stop, defund. Number one, we've got to defund the renewables, finish them off now, cut the subsidies to them. And, if it was up to me, if I was Prime Minister of Australia, there you go, Graham Healy, Prime Minister of Australia, how would that be? Number one, I would refire every coal-powered station that we've got, get the maintenance back online. Number two, I'd have a look at uranium, but I would probably more focused on thorium, which is a safer version. And the Chinese are building thorium reactors now. Thorium in Australia is like dirt. We've got thorium everywhere. So I actually pushed this on riseupaustraliabrisbane.com back in the 2019 election. And the other thing is, what did I say? Let's start again. Number one, we just cancel all the subsidies to the renewables, and feeding them. I'd take down if I was Prime Minister, I'd take down every one of those wind turbines, just get rid of them, put them into landfill or something, or send them back to China, right? That's number one. Number two, have a look at uranium, but more so thorium. Definitely get the coal-fired power stations back up and running and the maintenance done and all that, so we've got baseload power. Then we apply the Senator Rennick principle on the banks. We create our own bank like the Commonwealth Bank used to be. We can print our own money. We've got gold. We've got more gold than any other country in the world. We can have our own Fort Knox here. Get the money back get our gold bullion back from Britain. That's where it's sitting over there in Britain. Will you believe why? Question mark. Ask Senator Rennick. He's been asking them for the last couple of years and they can't give him an answer. So we can sovereigntise this country. I jumped over the place. So let me just recap it. Number one, cancel all the subsidies for renewables. Just shut it down. Number two, get all the coal-fired power stations back up and running properly with the full maintenance. Number three, have a look at thorium. My feeling is thorium, rather than uranium, will be quicker and more efficient to focus on thorium reactors because they're easy to build. Oil and gas, we've got plenty of it here. Build our own bank, start printing our own money and back it up with our own gold, right? And cut the associations we have with global banks owing them billions of dollars. So, Senator Rennick's got all this on his website, so have a look at, People First, Senator Rennick's party, People First. His policies are very, very clear on the financial situation. And, then we've got to build the Bradford irrigation scheme. Now, That's been in the background there since about the 1930s. We build that and we can turn the whole central part of Australia into a food bowl that can feed Southeast Asia, China and everywhere. That's the best project I could possibly think of, and there's no one more qualified to back that project up than Clive Palmer. I believe Clive should back that up financially. You can take a stake in it and what have you, but we would have jobs for everyone. See, Senator Rennick wants to focus on infrastructure, which is true, infrastructure, housing, all this sort of stuff. We've got to have money to do that, so we can print our own money. We do like a reserve, our own rural bank sort of thing, that for infrastructure, buildings and all this sort of stuff. And then, of course, at the same time, we do this massive Bradford irrigation scheme and turn Australia into the Garden of Eden in the centre of Australia rather than a desert. And I've spoken to a few Aboriginal people about that. As long as it's I'm not representing Aboriginal people but my best mate's Aboriginal. So he said, quote, Les Harris is his name, if you want to quote Les Harris, and he said that his people, as long as the water supplying the land and the land flourishes, they're happy with that. So, anyway, that needs a bit more dialogue, but that's what Les said to me. So, anyway, and also the other person I thought of was Bob Katter. I really believe Bob Katter should be a senator. I know he's got a long standing in the lower house and what have you, but it'd be great to have Bob Katter. So you imagine, this is the dream team I thought of. Okay, Dr. William Bay, Senator Rennick, Senator Roberts, Bob Katter, whoever is from Family First, and whoever Trumpeter Patriots Clive Palmer puts up. I mean, I've thrown my hat in the ring for Trumpeter Patriots, but I don't know who. Harry Fong might be a good barrister. I hear Harry Fong's a lead Senate candidate for Queensland, but I've never heard of Harry Fong before. What did Harry Fong do over the mandates? Was he, representing the people of Australia in the streets over the tyranny of the mandates and the injections? What did he say? Did he stand up and say, "Look, I'm not going to be an experiment for these injections"? Well, I don't. He may have. I don't know, but I've never heard of him before. That's the thing with Trumpeter Patriots. Even though I've got him on my website and I love Clive Palmer and all that, but the question I ask is, what's the background of whoever you put on the website, and make certain that you put policies on websites. And if you got that, I can look at Rennick, terrific track record over the last 6 years. I look at Roberts, Senator Roberts, terrific track record. I look at Dr. William Bay, terrific track record, right? They've got to have a track record before you go putting them up for the Senate. That's my personal opinion. Graham Healy over and out. Have a great day, and I'm looking forward to the federal election, but we must have the independent alliance, as Dr. Bay says, the independent alliance of good senators in control of the Senate. Graham Healy over and out. Have a great day. God bless you.